This video is sponsored by Square Enix. I never had a PSP back in the day, so I never played Crisis Core, and honestly, I'm not even sure that I heard of it back in the day. So when it was announced and everyone was super excited about it, I was like, who's this guy cosplaying as Cloud? So if you're like me and you missed out on all things Crisis Core back in the day, or if you played it and loved it and are just waiting to see someone finally catching up with you, then this video is for you. It's not a full review as I'm still playing the game, but it's my initial impressions after roughly a dozen hours. I'm playing mostly on the Steam Deck, and the game isn't a graphical powerhouse or anything, but it looks great on the system. I'm playing at 1280 by 800 with the graphics settings all set to high. I'm getting about 2.5, maybe a little bit more hours of battery life at these settings, which may seem low for some of you, but I tend not to play games for that many hours in a row anyway. On the PC, I've been playing the game at 1440p, everything's stable at 60 Hz, and it looks great on my PC. When you stack it up against other modern AAA games, it definitely doesn't have that sheen, if that's the word we're looking for here, but I think it looks great. The music is fantastic. I've taken to playing the game with my headphones on just for the music. It's typical JRPG rock, but I'm loving it, and it doesn't feel too repetitive yet. If you're looking for a good pair of headphones to use with your Steam Deck, I highly recommend the Audio-Technica ATH-M50X. There's a link in the description down below. The voice acting, on the other hand, is seriously grating. I ended up switching over to Japanese voice lines because I found the English to be super annoying. Though I will say this is kind of my usual reaction to English voice acting in JRPGs. I'm not sure why, but I feel like you can write some of this stuff, but when you say it out loud, it sounds ridiculous. And in English, I can hear what they're saying, so it sounds ridiculous to me. In Japanese, I have no idea what they're saying, so it doesn't sound ridiculous. And I can just read the text and hit the A button in order to move on to the next bit of text, so I can get through things a little bit faster. I will say that one of my favorite lines ever is when somebody asked my character what his dreams were, and he replied, "My dream is to be a hero," and the person came back with, "Good, the best dreams are unattainable." I laughed very hard at that one. I expected the combat in Crisis Core to be a lot more like Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's far more action-based though. I know that Remake is also action-based, but in that game, time has a tendency to slow down when you select your abilities or magic or when you give orders to your party members. This makes it feel a lot more like the turn-based game it was originally based on. In Crisis Core, the game never slows down. It's actually a really fast-paced game, so when you go to fire off your spells or items, it's always on the fly. You do this by holding the left bumper and hitting one of the face buttons, triggers, or bumpers. If you want to access potions or items mid-combat, you can scroll through the list horizontally with your triggers and use one by pressing B. This is very similar to how Capcom handles things in the Monster Hunter series. During combat, in the upper left of the screen, you have what is essentially a slot machine. This is called your Digital Mind Wave, or DMW for short. During the fight, the DMW will bring up numbers or pictures that are related to the game. They might be characters or summons from materia that you've got. If you match the numbers, you'll get a quick buff that'll make all magic or attack abilities free to cast, or maybe you will become invincible for a little while, or it might just give you a boost to your crits. Speaking of crits, I really like that if you get behind your enemy and hit them from the back, you always critical. I think that that's really great, and it adds some more to the action. Back to the DMW. If you match 3 character portraits, you'll be able to use a limit break. This may be Zack attacking, or he may call in an airstrike from a companion. Alternatively, if you go into summoning mode, you'll end up seeing pictures of summons that are related to the materia that you've collected so far. If you match them, then you can click both sticks in, and the corresponding summoning materia will go off, and you get to see a cool cutscene. And because of this, one of the main parts of the game is gathering materia in order to add images to your digital mind weave. I'll just call it the DMW from now on. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. I was expecting over time for the DMW to get more complex and give me ways to interact with it more, but honestly, you can kind of just ignore what's going on in the top left of the screen and then wait for a buff to pop up and then utilize it at the right time. The last part of the DMW is that you get memories from Zack when certain matches happen. These are usually very quick cutscenes that show you something that has happened in the past between Zack and other characters in the game. Though I do tend to see the same ones over and over, I assume as I approach the end game that will start to spread out a little more. I'd like to have a toggle that would allow me to say, okay, I've seen this one enough, don't show me again. But I guess at the end of the day, pressing the Y button on one that I've already seen isn't that big of a deal. Now, speaking of something that honestly shouldn't be a big deal, but it is driving me absolutely insane, is that every single time that you enter combat, there is a combat announcer that says activating combat mode. And then once you've defeated all of the monsters on the board, it tells you conflict resolved. This wouldn't be a big deal, but if you go on a lot of missions, this happens like every minute. So you hear a lot of activating combat mode and conflict resolved, and you cannot turn that off. It is really irritating, and I cannot stand that Square did not give us a way to turn that off. Like, I can't imagine who thought that that was a good idea.
Activating combat mode. Conflict resolved.
Anyway, back to the DMW. I really do like the DMW mechanic. It adds a certain anticipation to the game while I'm fighting. If I have, say, two Sephiroth's match and I'm waiting for a third one to come up, like my eyes keep darting up to the top left of the screen. Moving on from the DMW, I love how most attacks are unavoidable. If an enemy casts Blizzard at you, a big ice ball forms over your head and you can dodge out of the way. Of course, so can the enemy. So you have to learn their movement patterns so you're not wasting MP. Boss fights also have abilities with big windups, and a bar shows up on screen, and if you can damage them enough, you can break that bar and they don't get to cast the ability. Overall, I feel like the best part of the game is the combat, which is good because you are fighting lots of stuff through random encounters. But I don't mind because it is really enjoyable. We will see how I am 30 hours in, though. One of my gripes with this game is that you don't have a party. You are just playing as one character, and this is really different from other Final Fantasy games where you always have a party. I'm sure that people will tell me some other Final Fantasy game that I've not played or that I don't remember that doesn't have a party system, but you are only playing as Zack in this game. Now, you would think, because you're only playing as one character, that everybody would pretty much have the same experience playing through. But once you unlock extra materia slots, as well as the ability to fuse materia and extra accessories, the combination of accessories and materia makes you feel like you can really play Zack any way that you want. As you progress through the game, you'll be able to collect new weapons and materia, and you can equip Zack and give him new abilities and attacks based on what is in front of you. You're going to have to carefully consider which combinations work best for your playstyle and the enemies that you're up against. And you really have to look at their resistances, as that is going to influence whether or not you want to focus on physical attacks, magic, or a mix of both. Another feature that I really like in this version of Final Fantasy is the side quests or missions that you can take when you're at any save point. First of all, they are really short, which is perfect on a portable device like the Steam Deck. And because you can access them from any save point, you essentially get the ability to grind a bit, level up your character and your materia. And if you come across something in the story that's giving you a hard time, or if you've got a boss fight and you realize that you don't have the right materia, you can access stores from your save point, buy the materia that you need, go into a mission, level it up, maybe fuse it a couple times, and problem solved. Each mission has a little text blurb that doesn't seem too important, but does add a little flavor to the game. I feel like a lot of the world's lore is found in the text, either through missions or emails, but mostly emails. You'll constantly get emails from other characters, and to get to it quickly, all you have to do is hit the right bumper, as long as you're not in combat. As somebody who has a very tiny fraction of an attention span, the emails are really short, which means I actually read them. And I feel like I am understanding the world of Midgar and Final Fantasy VII a little bit more. Overall, I am absolutely loving this game. I was recording B-roll earlier this week in order to get ready to make this video, and I had forgotten that I had hit record, so I had like a long recording of B-roll that I had to go through for this video. I feel like the short form content that is built into the game, thanks to its DNA as a portable game from the start, makes it an ideal play for the Steam Deck. But I'm also very curious as to how far this version deviates from the original. If you've played both, let me know in the comments section down below if this is just a graphical update or is it more of an overall overhaul. Anyway, thanks for watching, and before you go, check out this video right here. Big thank you to my patrons and channel members. I really do appreciate it. Check out the links down below if you want to find out how you can support the channel. If it's your first time here, please subscribe. From the Nerd Nest, I'm Bill. Stay rad, everyone.